Most romance stories follow a very specific story structure and have been replicated over and over again by many Japanese story writers. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to point out the structure in almost every romance anime you watch. So without further ado, let's start with knowing exactly what makes a story a story. Usually a story is made up of three parts: the introduction, the complication, and the resolution. The introduction gives us details about the plot of the story. Pretty much it answers the 5 W's. Who are the main characters? What do they want to achieve by the end of the movie and why? And when and where does the story take place? The complication introduces an event that causes a problem for the main characters, i.e. what stops the main characters from achieving their goal. And the resolution solves the problem, so things are somewhat back to normal, with the main characters able to deal with the problem that stopped them from achieving their goal. Pretty much all shows and movies follow this structure, and in romance anime, the structure usually goes like this. In what way do the two characters meet or know each other, plus what's the excuse that keeps them together? What's something that stops them from being together? And will the characters be together at the end? We see this structure used in almost all romance anime, and I'll use the greatest romance anime film of all time, Your Name by Makoto Shinkai, to show what the structure looks like in action. Within the first 30 minutes of the film, we learn that the female protagonist Mitsuha and the male protagonist Taki switched bodies for a day. This answers the question, in what way did the two characters meet? However, it doesn't just happen once, it happens for a while on many random days. Now Mitsuha must learn how to live Taki's life in Tokyo, and Taki must learn how to live Mitsuha's life in the countryside. This is the excuse that keeps the two characters together, and usually this excuse is used to show how the relationship develops into something much closer. All of this happens in the introduction. Next is the complication. One day Mitsuha and Taki stop switching bodies, so Taki goes out to the countryside to look for her, only to find out that Mitsuha is not alive anymore. She and a third of the town were unalived by a comet that struck them, and that Taki had actually been switching bodies with a version of her 3 years in the past. This is the event that stops the two characters from being together, and it is usually the saddest part of the story. Finally, the conclusion. Taki was able to time travel 3 years back and saved Mitsuha from the comet, but sadly it was at the cost of losing memories of each other. Fortunately though, many years later they cross paths and meet again right at the end of the movie, so the characters do end up being together. As you can see, the movie follows a structure to a T. I'll give you another movie example to show just how common it truly is. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas by Shinichiro Ushijima. Introduction. In what way did the two characters meet? The male protagonist Haruki finds a diary lying around which talks about having pancreatic disease. It turns out it belongs to the female protagonist Sakura, and she sees him reading it. What's the excuse that keeps them together? After talking for a bit, Sakura realizes how much of a loner Haruki is and decides to hang out with him up until the disease unalives him. Complication. What's something that stops them from being together? Well, Sakura dies, not from the pancreas disease, but she was murdered. And resolution. Will the characters be together at the end? This time, no. Sakura can't be revived. However, Haruki does learn the value of friendship and connection, and this is evidenced by at the end of the movie when he asks Sakura's best friend Kyoko if they can be friends. This solves Haruki's problem of wanting to be alone. For movies, we can see an obvious introduction, complication, and resolution. But what about shows? How can shows split the structure into 12 episodes or even multiple seasons? Before I go on, I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe if you want to see more romance anime videos like this. Now back to the video. The story structure of shows is still the same one used in movies. However, the only difference is how long each part of the story takes place. Usually, shows will stretch out the introduction for say the first 8 or 9 episodes of the season and cover the complication and resolution in the last 3 or 4. Jun Maida's The Day I Became a God is a very good example of this. In episode 1, we get the answer to how the two characters meet. The male protagonist Yota runs into the female protagonist Hina at the park, and she claims to him that she's a goddess that knows everything. She also claims that the world is going to end in 30 days, but he doesn't really believe it. The excuse that keeps them together is that Yota's parents were kind of obligated to look after Hina for a while, since she was the daughter of a close friend they have. So they spend time together, and during this time she pushes him to do things he wouldn't normally do because of a belief that the world's going to end in 30 days. So for the next 7 episodes, they do some not so normal things, from helping someone run a successful restaurant to winning a game of mahjong against pros, and even shooting a whole ass movie. From episode 9 to 11, the complication occurs. What stops them being together is that the government found out there was a chip-sized computer inside Hina's brain that's allowing her to be so smart, and since they deem this as a threat to the world, they take her away. Eventually, Yota learns that she is in a hospital, and so he pretends to be a researcher to visit her. However, he finds out that cranial surgery was performed on Hina, leaving her with a medical condition that messed up her brains and muscles, and it seemed that she had also lost her memories. She also has an extreme fear of men due to the incident. The resolution occurs on the last episode. After Yoto was found out to be a fake researcher, he was ordered to leave the hospital. He was allowed half a day with Hina though, and spent that time trying to jog her memory of him. However, when Yoto failed and got her scared instead, he had to leave. Luckily, at the last second, Hina does remember him and they were reunited. As you can see, usually an unusual situation that keeps the two characters together can breed multiple interesting scenarios between them. This is how they're able to stretch out the introduction over the course of several episodes. It is also possible for the introduction to last multiple seasons. For instance, the show Tonikawa. In episode 1, the male protagonist Nasa almost gets run over by a truck, but he is then saved by a beautiful female protagonist Tsukasa. When she leaves, he so desperately wants to see her again, and so he catches up to her. Nasa then asks Tsukasa out, and she agrees to it only if they get married, in which they do. And after 2 seasons and a movie split into 4 episodes, they're still in the introduction part of the story, exploring their life as a newlywed couple. There hasn't really been anything yet that stops the characters from being together, but it might be in the next season or movie if they decide to make it. While most shows stretch out the introduction, there are some shows that stretch out or reduce other parts of a story. Like Sword Art Online, the introduction occurs for the first 13 episodes of season 1, the complication occurs for the next 11 episodes, and the resolution on the last episode. And in Bunny Girl Senpai, the introduction, complication, and resolution occurs in the first 3 episodes. After that, they're just investigating supernatural activities as a couple. Now that you know the structure of how romance anime stories are made, how can you write one yourself? Well, you can pretty much just use the same structure and answer the questions. We'll begin with the introduction. In what way will your two characters meet or know each other? Think of an unusual or strange event that causes them to first encounter physically. It could be that a teacher put them into pairs during class, or there's a supernatural phenomenon that's causing them to body switch. Once you've thought of that, you must then give an excuse for them to actually stay together. For example, a teacher may have given them a semester-long assignment to work on, or they just keep randomly body switching. You will use this excuse to think of plenty scenarios that can happen between the two characters, so that the relationship can develop. Next up, the complication. Once they've developed a pretty close relationship, what is something that will stop them from actually being together? A few ideas are someone dies, someone loses feelings, someone loses their memories, cultural differences, societal pressures, parents unapproved of it, or some sort of supernatural phenomenon like time disparities. Finally, the resolution. Will your two characters be together at the end? If so, how will your characters either stop or fix the problem? For example, how will they stop someone from dying? How will they fix someone's memories? How will they stop their parents from unapproving the relationship? If you decide your characters will not be together at the end, then it'll be a bit more complicated. Instead of your characters trying to stop or fix the problem, your characters will have to overcome a behavioral flaw they have. For instance, in I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, Haruki preferred to be alone in the beginning of the movie. However, after Sakura's death, he realized how important relationships are, and so he tried to become friends with Sakura's best friend, Kyoko. In Makoto Shinkai's 5 cm per second, the male protagonist Takaki was unable to move on from the female protagonist Akari after moving away and being unable to see each other for many years. However, years later, after realizing Akari walked past and didn't look back to see him, he was finally able to move on from her. And in Your Lie in April, the male protagonist Kosei was unable to hear his own music's pitch due to his mother's abuse, which followed him even after her death. However, the female protagonist Kaori was able to help him overcome his condition despite her also dying. So as you can see, if the two characters don't end up being together at the end, someone must still overcome a behavioral flaw they had at the start. Just to recap, all romance anime follows this structure. In what way do the two characters meet or know each other, plus what's the excuse that keeps them together? What's something that stops them from being together? And will the two characters be together at the end? And if not, how does a character overcome a behavioral flaw they had at the start? Thanks for watching and subscribe if you love romance anime.